Welcome to Bedtime Horror, your portal to scary stories.
It was late one night, and we were out for an adventure. We were four friends: Sarah, my best friend; Mike, our resident skeptic; Emma, the fearless one; and I, the reluctant participant. We had heard tales of an abandoned church on the outside of town, rumored to be haunted. Naturally, we couldn't resist the thrill of exploring its spooky depths. As we approached the church, its imposing silhouette loomed against the backdrop of the night sky. Its once grand facade was now weathered and worn, the paint was peeling, and the windows boarded up. A chill ran down my spine as I stared at the empty archway, and we swept around with our flashlights. Sarah nudged at me. Her eyes were wide with excitement. "Are you ready for this?" she asked. Her voice was barely a whisper. I swallowed hard. My heart was pounding in my chest. "I guess so," I replied, trying to sound braver than I felt. We exchanged nervous glances and stepped into the church, the heavy wooden door creaking shut behind us. The air inside was thick with dust and the lingering scent of incense. The only sound was the dripping of water from somewhere in the depths of the building. We shone our flashlights around, which did reveal a cavernous interior. I had a feeling of fear and excitement at this moment. The pews were overturned, the altar was shattered, and cobwebs hung like ghostly drapes from the ceiling. It was as if the church had been abandoned in a hurry. A sense of dread did hang in the air. Emma led the way, her flashlight beam darting around the room, illuminating the decay. "This place is giving me the creeps," she muttered. Her voice did echo in the silence. Mike rolled his eyes. "It's just an old church," he scoffed. "There's nothing to be scared of." I wasn't so sure. Something about the place felt off, an unsettling presence that made my skin crawl. I kept my eyes peeled for any signs of movement, half expecting a spectral figure to emerge from the shadows. We ventured deeper into the church, passing through a maze of dimly lit hallways and abandoned rooms. Each step seemed to take us further into the heart of the darkness, the silence broken only by our own breathing and the occasional creaking of the floorboards. As we explored, we stumbled upon a collection of old gravestones, their weathered inscriptions barely legible in the dim light. The sight of these final resting places sent a shiver down my spine, and I couldn't shake the feeling that we were not alone. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the church, shattering the silence. We all froze, our hearts were pounding in unison. The noise seemed to have come from the basement, a dark, foreboding place that we had yet to venture into. Our flashlights flickered, and did cast eerie shadows on the walls as we exchanged terrified glances. The crash had come from the basement, a dark, forbidding place that we had yet to explore. A mix of fear and curiosity surged through us, but the fear was slowly gaining the upper hand. "We should leave," I whispered, my voice barely audible. Emma nodded in agreement, her eyes was wide with fear. "Yeah, let's get out of here," she said, and you could hear her voice was shaking. But Mike, ever the skeptic, was determined to investigate. "Come on, guys," he urged, his voice trembling slightly. "It was probably just the wind or something. There's nothing to be scared of." Against our better judgment, we followed Mike as he led us towards the basement door. The door was old and rusty, and it creaked ominously as he pushed it open. A wave of cold air hit us as we stepped into the darkness, the flashlight beams barely penetrating the thick gloom. The basement was a labyrinth of damp, cobweb-covered corridors and abandoned storage rooms. The air was heavy with the smell of damp earth and the lingering scent of something unpleasant. We cautiously ventured deeper into the darkness, and our footsteps echoing off the damp walls. The silence was broken only by the occasional drip of water from somewhere above us. Suddenly, a cold gust of wind swept through the corridor, extinguishing our flashlights. We were plunged into complete darkness, our hearts was pounding in our chests. And we stood there for what seemed like an eternity, unable to see or hear anything. Then, from the depths of the darkness, we heard a low, guttural growl. It was a sound that sent shivers down our spines, a sound that we had no doubt came from something very dangerous. We turned and ran, our footsteps did echo through the darkness as we fled in terror. We didn't stop until we reached the safety of the church's main entrance, stumbling out into the moonlight, gasping for air. We never went back to the abandoned church. The memory of that terrifying night was enough to keep us away. But the haunting growl still echoes in my mind, a reminder of the darkness that lurks beneath the surface of our world.
Thanks for watching, and I hope this story was to your liking.